So now the Never Trump movement apparently has a new candidate for the White House, one who's just entering the race now. His name is Evan McMullin, former CIA operative who worked as policy director for House Republicans, and he's announcing an independent bid for the president. He's already missed the deadline to get on the ballot in a lot of these states, though, but analysts say he could still have a chance to make a difference in some key battleground states. Aaron Blake, managing editor for The Fix, Washington Post. Aaron, how you doing? Good afternoon to you.
Hi, how are you?
Who is he?
That's a good question. He was a former CIA intelligence officer. He was most recently an aide at the House Republican Conference, which is a leadership entity within House Republican leadership. Really a pretty unknown guy. He's from, or rather, he went to school at Brigham Young University. He's a Mormon candidate, so there's some thought that he could have an impact on the race in Utah, especially given how unlike Donald Trump is in that red state. But largely, this really feels like kind of a last gasp effort from the Never Trump movement, which never really found the candidate they wanted. And finally, they do find a candidate who nobody knows and who can't get on the ballot in more than half the country.
Well, you said a couple things in there. Why Utah? What's going on in Utah that could have significance here?
So in Utah, Donald Trump got crushed in the primary by Ted Cruz. It was never a good state for him. He lost, I think, 69-15 in that state, even as he was winning by big margins elsewhere. There's just something about Utah that doesn't like Trump. The polls that we've seen in the general election basically have him in a tie with Hillary Clinton, with both around 35% of the vote. We've seen Gary Johnson, the Libertarian candidate, taking a lot of the excess vote in that race. So the addition of a Brigham Young University grad, a Mormon, on the ballot could certainly take some votes away from Trump, really complicate things in one of the smaller states on the map. But other than that, you know, he's not going to be on the ballot in a lot of swing states. The deadline to get on the ballot in Texas, you know, passed months ago. So this is not really anything more than a campaign to be a spoiler for Donald Trump.
Sounds kind of like a Hail Mary. In Utah, by the way, do they like Hillary Clinton? Do they prefer her?
No, it's a very heavily conservative state, so she's only about 35% of the vote. But you know, if there are these third-party candidates in the race, if Evan McMullin can take, you know, 10% of the vote, Gary Johnson can take 10-20% of the vote, that could lower the threshold for victory in that state to a point where Hillary Clinton could pull out a win and deprive Trump of what should otherwise be electoral votes that Republicans are basically entitled to.
Aaron,